As you can see, there's also a lot of teachers on. The teachers and I have met, and we're excited about coming back in September, although it's certainly going to look different. You know, it will still be the warm, nurturing, learning-filled, fun place that we all know and love. And I have to say, I'm more and more encouraged. I'm on 2 national calls a week, and I had one this afternoon at 3 o'clock to 4:30, and more schools are opening around the country, and everyone's saying that, you know, the classrooms look so much more like they did before, and the kids are great, and it's really working really well. So I just keep hearing that over and over and over again. So we are excited to get back in person. I'm hoping you had time to read through all the information, and we're ready for your questions. So who would like to start with a question or concern or anything that you would like to discuss? Or what would you like more information about? Someone, anyone? Okay, Julie?
Julie.
Hi. Hi, everyone. It's nice to see everybody looking so healthy and well. A couple of questions off the bat for me. I'll just say both of them first. So one question I had was, it looked like that teachers were going to be wearing masks, but that students over 2 had the option of not wearing masks. And for me personally, I want everyone to be healthy, but I don't really like the idea of kids and teachers having to wear masks, because part of the learning environment, building the social skills and, you know, speaking and interacting is just very hard, even for me as an adult, when 2 people are wearing masks. And so I wanted, I guess, more clarification around what the rules would be on that, and in terms of what the optionality is with kids over 2. And then my other question is financial. I understand that if somebody is tested positive and the school needs to, you know, shut down, or the government closes down the school for 2 weeks, we're going to go remote. But if it's more than 2 weeks, what will how will the finances be dealt with? Because remote obviously isn't the same as in person.
Yeah, so I will answer the mask question, and then I will let Becky answer the financial question. So according to the regs that are out, and let me just preface this by saying the regs could change a lot between now and September, but we have to plan with what we have right now, because I have to start submitting our paperwork and so forth. We have to get not re-licensed, but reapproved. So we get a conditional letter to reopen, and then we get re-licensed. So with the regulations as they are written now, it's just a recommendation for kids to wear masks. It's not required. At the first round of regulations that came out, it was required, but a lot of early childhood directors and teachers protested that and said we didn't think that was realistic for kids to keep masks on, and we had a lot of concerns about developing language and safety, because we're afraid kids could put things under their masks and be, you know, swallowing things, and we wouldn't be able to see them. Plus, they'll probably be taking them off and leaving them all over the place, which actually spreads more germs. So it's a recommendation. If parents feel strongly and want their child in a mask all day, that we will certainly do that. But we are planning to have the kids wear masks when they enter and when they exit. So when they're in the public spaces and in their classrooms, and definitely they won't need them outside. Teachers are required to wear masks if they're less than 6 feet away from a child. That's a regulation. So we have no leeway with that whatsoever. But we also did order, they're not in yet, but the mask where you can at least see the facial expression. So it won't be quite as, well, I'm sure kids are a little more used to masks now, but not quite as scary for the kids not to be able to see their teachers' faces. And we'll also be doing, you know, a lot of videos and things before school starts, so kids will be used to seeing what their teachers look like in the mask, as well as like Rebecca and I, for greeting the kids, have to be in full gear with like goggles and a mask and protective gear over our clothes. So we will be sending out things to prepare kids for that. So as far as the kids go, the answer is there is leeway, and as far as the adults go, there is not. Becky, do you want to answer the financial one?
I can. So the decision that we made with the finance committee was that if we need to close again like we did this year, I mean, obviously this year we were, as everyone was, completely unprepared. The next year, the plan is that if we need to close for more than 2 weeks, families will have the option to essentially withdraw from school, or to pay a significantly reduced tuition price for a virtual school, understanding that it's much less time. You're not getting the childcare piece when you have to, get your kid on the Zoom. We're providing you with something, and we need to pay our teachers for what they're providing, but there's a lot less that we are providing in that instance. So you'll basically have the option to say, yes, I want my child to participate in virtual school, and that'll have a fee associated with it. Or you say, I'm going to pull my kid from school for now, and when we're back to in-person, you'll essentially re-enroll. And what we'll do is we'll pause, if you're on a monthly payment plan, we'll pause your payments in that moment. And then basically at the end of the year, we'll have to reconcile where we are and whether, because your payments don't match up completely with what month we're in. So we'll make sure that it's prorated correctly if you decide you don't want to participate in the virtual school. We haven't completely come up with the price for the virtual school. We're still working on that based on, how many hours a week we want to be providing. Are we providing you with materials to go along with it, or are we expecting that you're going to have your own materials? So we're still working on what that pricing is going to be for that virtual school piece. But it will certainly be less than tuition is now. And you'll have the option to say, I'm going to withdraw my kid and we're not going to do the virtual piece because that just doesn't work for us. And I know that some families, your kid went on every single Zoom call, everything we did. And some families, like, you were begging them to go on for 30 seconds and they absolutely would not go on at all. So it's really is different for everyone, and we're going to provide that option for people.
Sarah Conter.
Sorry, there were naked children in here. Doing very well. I had a question about extended day and the All-Stars. So first of all, I just want to say, I think you're doing a great job. I think the school is communicating beautifully. I know this is really hard, and I appreciate how forthright and honest you're being. So I just want to make sure I understand. There is no extended day as of now. And the All-Stars will not be staying for lunch and will be done at noon.
No. So the good news is the second week of school, we plan to add back in the All-Star lunch.
Okay.
So that will be added back in, and that's a pretty easy thing for us to add back in.
Okay.
The extended day, we really need some of the regs to change to be able to add that back in, because the way the regs read now is every child has to remain with their own class, with their own teachers, while they were at school. It doesn't matter if they're at school for an hour or 10 hours, it has to be with that same group. And our whole extended day revolves around putting groups together and changing staff. And as you all know, all our staff works different hours. There's no one person that does all the extended day hours, and there's no one group that just stays. So we're hoping, and I've heard there might be some leeway where maybe we can combine 2 groups, and then that would give us like 4 teachers to work with and 2 groups that could combine to extend hours. So as of right now, we can't, but we're hopeful that at some point we will be able to. We're also hoping to add back in other lunches. We're just trying to start off slow, see how it goes, because there's a lot of changes for parents and for the teachers, and then add back in time as we can. But yes, the All-Star lunch, we're planning to start the second week of school.
Okay, and with the All-Stars, I think you said that they'll be in cohorts of 10 and they'll stay in that 10. Will the teachers be able to switch? Like on a Monday, could you have Jillian and Tuesday Jackie, or you're with the same teacher?
It has to be the same pod, but what we're looking into, and Rebecca has a lead on this, we discussed it today, it was exciting, so I'm hoping it works out, is this kind of almost like material we can put across the room that is see-through, so at least they can see each other and it won't be like it's so claustrophobic or so isolating. They also do have to share a bathroom, so there will, you know, be those interactions, and they'll have separate play spaces outside, but they'll probably be next to each other, so there'll be some interaction there as well. But the regulations as they are right now are very specific about teachers being assigned to a group and staying with that group at all times. So there's no leeway with that, except for subs that are allowed to go in different rooms but have to stay in for the whole day. Next question. Does anyone see? I have to go to another screen and see if anyone has. Jane.
Heidi?
Hi, I got two questions. The thing I was most concerned about in the new rules you sent was the one about parents not being allowed to enter the building at all, but I don't see that in the state regulations. And you're dealing with toddlers, and my kid can't be the only one who has serious separation anxiety. So I'm trying to realistically picture how this is going to go on the first day of school, where I have a stranger walk up to the car, take my son away from my car, walk him into a new place he's never been before with a bunch of people he doesn't know. How is that supposed to work?
Yeah, that's honestly,
I don't think that's set up.
yeah, that's honestly one of, I think, the hardest regulations. And we're not allowed to have any adults in the building, including parents.
Is that a state regulation, or is that?
Oh yeah, that's a state regulation.
Parents are not allowed any schools anywhere.
Right. It's a state regulation. There's no leeway on that. What I can tell you is we are planning to have, which hopefully will help, one-on-one orientations for all new students to the school and all Me Too's, so that you and your child will come outside to a play space and interact with the teachers, socially distancing, so at least parents and children will have some time with teachers before they come to school.
Okay.
Yeah, this is, I mean, Becky can attest that when I first found out about this regulation, I was horrified. Yeah. But we have no leeway with it at all.
So the plan is like the week before classes start, we would go to the outdoor space, all the kids and parents and teachers in the same group.
No, one-on-one.
Sort of a one-on-one. So just one kid and one teacher at a time, not with the other kids.
Right.
Okay. So just to get familiar with the teacher in the building. That's the goal.
To meet the teacher, parents can ask questions. We're going to also be doing a lot of things on Zoom. You know, I will certainly be available for any questions and concerns. It's really hard. I mean, I've been doing this a long time. I would never have imagined starting a year where parents couldn't come in. I mean, it's a awful feeling for everyone. But we will try to make you feel as comfortable as we can, and we will, you know, put all kinds of things in place for communication so that we have very good communication with parents, even though you won't be coming in and out of the building. You know, with our social media and our Remini, and you know, there might be opportunities for parents to sign in on Zoom and see what's going on in the classroom, and FaceTime calls and phone calls and email, and we will be in constant communication. And we will also try to make the beginning of the year as stress-free as possible, given the restriction.
So I just want to address Julie put in the chat about Rabbi and Susan being in person. And Heidi, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but no guests, adult guests, are allowed in the building.
No, I mean, to the point that Rebecca and I aren't allowed in the rooms. If we need to go into a room, we have to only go in that one room that day, unless there's an emergency. And there's no outside adults allowed in. They really want these pods to form, which I do understand, because that does stop the spread if there is an outbreak in the school. It keeps it contained in one group so that the whole school doesn't have to quarantine for 2 weeks.
That includes the outdoor space, by the way, in terms of like the playground and stuff as well.
Right now,
just in the physical building. Yes,
right now, which they may change a little bit of that too. I don't know. I mean, I'm on all these calls all the time and they talk about there could be changes coming, but until they change them. And also, you know, could go back the other way, like how hopefully our numbers won't go back up and other states' numbers have gone back up. So we kind of have to mentally prepare for it going either way. I think someone else had a question or comment or concern.
Anna, you had a question?
I think Anna had a question.
Can you guys, I'm raising my hand like I'm in school. First of all, again, to just echo, thank you guys for everything. We are new to all of this and to you guys, but we're already super impressed with the care and attention, and I cannot even begin to imagine what it takes to do all of this. The orientation that is referenced in the email in the document, is that the like sort of time where we would come one-on-one that's the orientation, right?
Yes, yes. And that's why we have such a long time this year, so we can schedule everybody in for their own time.
Okay, and that's just one opportunity though, right? Like just one day to, okay. Yeah, okay. And the other question I was
Although,
gonna ask,
if you do, you know, anyone is welcome to do this. We have an outside art gallery now on the fence outside our playground. So if over the summer you want to keep taking walks and going to the art gallery and walking around the playground, you can't actually use.
We can do that. We can drive to.
You can do that, and then we have our our rock garden out in the front. Although Amy might have moved it now to the back as well. But yeah, you're welcome to walk around the space with your own family if that, you know, gives you and your child a comfort level.
I think the more times that she just sees the car pull up and sees the building, I think, because she's never been to daycare, she's never been to anywhere. So again, I'm sure it's harder for me than it will be for her, but that's all right. My other question was, so for Me Too's, they start out just for an hour and a half?
Yeah, we're going to start because, you know, they're new to the program and we can't do the usual things we do to make kids and parents feel comfortable. We're going to start out an hour and a half and see how it goes. If it goes great, we'll go right to 3 hours. If we feel like we have to add to 2 or 2.5, that's what we'll do to build it so that you know, we don't want to have kids that are just crying and crying and crying, because that doesn't build trust between the child and the teacher, or the parent and the teacher. We want it to be a positive experience.
Exactly.
So we don't usually do that, but we are this year because we couldn't really think of another good way to do it.
Yeah, and until further notice for that age group, they stop at noon. There's no lunch. That's it until dot. Okay.
And like I said, we, you know, anticipate being able to add that lunch hour in fairly quickly for the other classes as well. I mean, it depends how many people sign up for lunch because, you know, the 2 teachers have to stay. So it has to become financially plausible too. We can't have just like 1 kid in a room with 2 teachers, that type of thing. But we, you know, that is our intent to add lunch back fairly quickly. Oh, and I also just want to mention that Rabbi and Susan will be part of the program. You know, they will come in via Zoom or, you know, some other kind of technology. So they'll still be part of the program with the kids on a regular basis.
So Heidi, actually on that note, there was a question in the chat. I don't know if you addressed it earlier. My internet was a little out, but would they consider doing something outside where they can be more than 6 feet apart, Rabbi and Susan?
You know, we could consider that. We'll have to, I think, wait and see how it goes. I mean, the way the regs are written right now, they really shouldn't be interacting with our kids at all. It doesn't matter inside or outside. There's no specification for that. It just says no outside adults, and the kids have to stay with the same teachers all day. So I don't think so, but if things change, then yes. Or maybe, you know, later in the year or.
Hey, this is Ayla. I have a question.
Hi, how are you?
Good. I'm sorry I'm not we are at the hotel and I don't want you to see my room right now. So we're not in the video. We took a break from the break. So our question is, first, thank you for this call. I'm so happy that masks are not obligated, because otherwise I don't see how RL is doing that. The question is, can the teachers from last year accept him at the first day or the first few days? I usually come in with him, and I'm sure he loves all the teachers, but Stacy and Amy, how the go-to, and actually Stacy, our neighbor, so we keep on seeing her, and he's so excited seeing her. So I was wondering if in the first few days this could be possible. No.
So
Okay.
I would love to say yes to that, but I can't, because he has to go with the teachers that are his teachers for the year, because you have to stay with the same teachers. So,
Yeah,
I can't
understand.
say yes to that, unfortunately. I mean, if it was up to me, I'd say absolutely, that makes perfect sense to me. But
Yeah.
but I will be there, and
Yeah.
Rebecca will be there, and so at least it will be some
Yeah.
familiar faces.
Familiar faces. Okay, thank you.
And actually, he'll be able to see them through the door too, and wave. And
Okay, 6 feet, or maybe
Yeah.
to Zoom.
right.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions?
Heidi, can I ask a question?
Of course.
Okay. I just want to be clear that as of right now, enrichment as we know it does not exist. There's no Coach Ken, there's no puddle stompers, there's no nothing. It's really just if your teacher can stay an extra hour or two, that's what the extended program is going to be.
Yeah,
Okay.
because we can't have any other adults come in. We have talked about, especially at the beginning of the year, if school closes after lunch, to offer some online enrichment programs that can be done from home.
Okay.
Because those were fairly successful. But
Okay.
if parents are interested, we're very happy to set those up.
Okay.
But yeah, we can't have any of our specialists come in. Like, it's even written, I don't know how many of you read through the regs, but it's even written that early intervention can't come into our program. So in the past, we have had early intervention, has been working with a student or two, and, sometimes comes every Monday or every Thursday. They're not even allowed in. It's that specific. Like,
I know. Okay. No, I
it
totally.
says no specialists, no coaches, no early intervention. So it's pretty clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's unfortunate.
Yes, it is.
Maya, you have a question? Hi, Maya.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
How are you? Nice to meet everyone. We are also new to this school. I just wanted to ask how, and I know it's going to transition for everyone, and how do you going to handle the transition for the new kids? Maybe just, can we bring them to see the classroom maybe when?
So yeah,
school
we're going to
starts?
do a one-on-one orientation for all the kids at the beginning of the year, new to the program. And there'll be a lot of communication before school starts. So we had a lot of success with FaceTime calls. Parents felt like the kids really connected over those during the shutdown. So we will, have something in place. We'll have some, we'll reach out like that. So, and teachers will send videos. So there will be a lot of ways for the children to connect with teachers before school starts. And then we will certainly do some kind of one-on-one orientation before school starts. With the older two classes, we also imagine doing a whole class orientation where the kids are dropped off for an hour, but not with the younger kids. That will just be a one-on-one.
Okay, thank you.
More questions, comments?
Sarah
Things you're
Conter, did
thinking
you have another question?
Who? Me?
Did Sarah Conter? Yes, I thought I saw you like,
Shocking that I have more questions.
no, it's fine.
That's why we're here.
Exactly.
All right. So little kids get colds all the time and have runny noses all the time. If it's not COVID and you don't have a fever, but you have the like the stuff they always have, how are we handling that?
So that was a question that was asked on one of my Department of Early Education and Care calls. And the child has to stay home until all symptoms are gone. It doesn't matter, even if it doesn't matter what it is. Same with staff. Yeah, yeah, even if you know it's allergies or they're very specific about that, they don't have to stay home. First, when the regs came out, if you had a runny nose, you had to stay home 14 days, even if it went away. But they did dial back on that. So now it's just until symptoms are
Okay.
gone. So
We have another
vitamin
question.
C, a lot of vitamin C, everybody.
Heidi, we have another question in the chat. What are the
Yes.
teacher assignments? Same as last year?
Yes, well, yes, for right now. We, might be moving a couple of teachers around. It depends on how many Me Too's end up coming. If we don't need 3 Me Too teachers in that classroom, if it ends up being a smaller group of Me Too's, then one of the Me Too teachers may go to the All-Star room because that's being split into the 2 groups. But yes, pretty much the same. But you will know about that well in advance. Well, it'll be about a couple weeks in advance because we won't know actually who's absolutely coming until August 15th, because that's a date everyone has to decide if they're committing or not to school. And up till August 15th, you can get all of your money back for this year. Anna, did you have a question?
Thank you. I was just wondering, is there any circumstances under which you would consider having the same thing for the youngest ones where they come as a whole class for an hour?
We could talk about it. I think just, that would almost be like the first day of school for them.
Mhm,
So I think it would be that would be very stressful. And the thing is with, the youngest kids, when one starts crying a lot of times, it spirals into, so I'm not sure it would be a very effective orientation. Where with the older kids, I think they would come in and at least, get the routines and learn the morning song and that type of thing, which is, the purpose. And usually we have parents obviously come with their children, and it's a lovely, time for everyone to meet and be together, but unfortunately we can't do that.
Okay.
And does anyone see anyone that has a question? Because it's hard with the 2 screens and going back and forth.
Julie.
Oh, Heidi, I was gonna say, I think Jane had a hand up. Did you have your hand up, Jane? Is that your name?
I did, but I wanted to let other people ask their other questions first.
Right, Julie, go ahead, and then Jane.
Do you know, or do the state regulations say if there's a certain date by which in the summer where if we're not going to go back to school for some reason, they'll decide? Like right now, it's okay to go back to school. But is there anything in the regulations or that you know of that says, okay, by August 15th, we're going to kind of take a look and make a decision. Can we open or not? Or it all could just be last minute, regardless.
I think, schools like programs started opening this week around the state. Before that, it was just emergency care for essential workers. And no one is talking about schools closing completely. I haven't heard that at all. The plan is for schools to open in September. There's been talk about, maybe having to close down for a couple weeks here and there. But there's also been a lot of talk about the impact of not having school and not having care available for parents. So I think it would have to be pretty drastic to close everything down again. That being said, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but it seems like there is a huge commitment for school to start in person in the fall.
Thank you.
So
Jane.
the next, yeah, okay. I have a really, really general question. So, I understand they're supposed to kind of just be at their own desks with their own materials, doing the activities together. So I'm trying to picture what exactly my son's gonna be doing all day. Because when I think about what they normally do in preschool, they have like the trains and the balls and the blocks, and they're supposed to be playing with other kids. So I'm guessing, first of all, you can't probably use a lot of those toys, right? Because they can't all be touching the same stuff. Then besides that, I'm just wondering what, besides all just doing some little activity at their desk together, what chance do they have to kind of socialize and do things with other kids if they can't touch the same toys?
So I can tell you when I first heard, what we had to do, and I think the teachers all felt the same way. We're all like, horrified. But the teachers have really done an amazing job of thinking about how things will look in ways that kids will be able to interact safely and use materials in a safe way. And I don't know if any teacher wants to speak to this, but they've talked a lot about their plans and having like stations with 2 kids at it and how to set up tables so that there could be 2 or 3 kids safely distanced at a table. They have a lot of ideas of ways to provide all of the sensory activities, ways for kids to have kind of their own kits, but to be doing the same activity at the same time and sharing their experiences. Creative ways to do circle in 2 groups if necessary, snack in 2 groups if necessary. We all know that the social emotional piece is the most important part of early learning. So that is definitely still going to happen in the safest way possible. Do any teachers want to talk about what your plans are? Because I know I was so impressed when we had our meeting. Anyone?
I can talk.
Thank you, Ashley. I'm like, this is the quietest these teachers have ever been.
I'm Ashley. I'm a Moonbeam teacher with Michelle. And we basically kind of what Heidi just said, we have kind of focused in on planning to have individual kits for each child in our class. So each child will have their own plastic bin of Play-Doh and sensory themes and their own tools. Basically, we've kind of thought about how to have everything sectioned off in our classroom so that everyone has their own basket, and so we can just pull everything out and still have them all sit at different tables, or like 2-3 different tables, but they'll each be able to be doing the same thing so they can talk to each other, interact. We can have like class conversations about what we're doing. For circle time, we've started researching. A lot of classes use them. We did not use them this year, but I know the All-Stars and the Comets use them, is carpet squares. We were thinking of something with better cleaning options. So like placemats we were thinking of, and then everyone will have their picture and their name on them. So still some of the same things that we do that I'm sure a lot of the parents have already seen us do. We're just trying to shift in a safer, cleaner way. But I don't know if that.
And they still will be able to use a lot of the hard surface toys that are in the room. We have to get rid of all the soft things like dress up.
My
clothes.
son's calling me. I have to take a break for a moment, actually. Sorry.
Okay. But and then those things will be disinfected. Like before snack, all the toys that are used in the morning will be disinfected, and then again at the end of the day. And if any children put anything in their mouth, those things will go into the dishwasher.
Yeah,
So,
I can also comment as well, is that we were also hoping that as much time outside as possible. This way the children have much more time to be able to interact together as a whole group. While we're inside, we had talked about moving furniture around so that we have more space within the classroom to have those groupings. And as a school, we have large bins of Legos and Duplos and different blocks, and have those areas for each, so everybody can have a little bit in each area where they're at. And we just have a bin at the end of the day, or when they're done with it, they go in the dirty bin, and then they get cleaned at the end of the day, so that we can use them again the following day. But other than that, it's very, what we had talked about in the comments is pretty much very, very similar to what Ashley just spoke to and Heidi spoke to as well.
And I saw we just got a question from a parent, will the teachers be allowed to hug the kids? So this question also came up on a Department of Early Education and Care call. So the answer is we are supposed to socially distance as much as possible. But that being said, if children need attention, if children get hurt, if children need a hug, yes, we will be. And that's why the adults will all be in masks. So yes, that would be cruel. So there will, like I said, it will still be a nurturing and warm environment, although, you know, there are certainly going to be changes. Anyone else?
Joan, you want to say something?
Hi, I'm Joan Jennings. I'm a toddler teacher in the Me Too class. It's nice to see all these new faces. We understand all your concerns, and we will do whatever we can to make this a happy, healthy, nurturing environment. And we will also be probably clearing out the room and making a lot of space for the toddlers. We have really nice space. And we also will hopefully be planning to spend a lot of time outdoors. So we're hoping for really good weather this fall. And there's so many fun activities that we can do outdoors and social distance. In the classroom, what we are thinking of doing is laying out like painter's tape on the floor with big squares and pictures of the children, and that can be their cozy space. And we can play lots of music and do movement in those spaces and wave to our friends and clap together, and we can still do things together and try to social distance with toddlers. So again, we understand all your concerns, but we will do whatever we can to make it a happy, safe, cozy environment under these circumstances. And like Heidi said, you know, before school starts, spending time with your children one-on-one, and we're happy to do whatever makes all of you comfortable. So, and open to suggestions and more questions, and we're here for you.
My concern is that my son is not going to follow the rules, honestly. He's a kisser. He was kissing the kids and the teachers last year. He's a little lover and another rule follower, as I know him at home. And I just don't be hysteric about him. If we'll get sick, we understand what we have at home, okay?
And you know, a lot of the kids aren't going to be able to, you know, follow all these rules. And that's what we've also talked about on this Department of Early Education and Care calls. How realistic is it to expect young children to social distance? And, you know, honestly, I'm hoping they go back a little bit on that. I know in public schools now they're saying 3 feet is okay if necessary, but right now it's still 6 feet for early learning centers. But we know kids, you know, are kids, and you know, if a child goes near another child, they're not going to get screamed at and told, like, get away. But the teachers will be reinforcing and, you know, gently moving kids if they feel like they're too close.
Thank you.
It's you know, it's.
Yeah, the mask was one step, but then all this distance thing is an issue. I got many kisses during the last week that doesn't mention any COVID-19 next to them. It's not aligned with any rule.
You know, and what I've heard from different directors around the country is some schools, they're doing a better job with the social distancing, and then others, some directors say that it's very difficult to get the kids to social distance. That has varied with who I've talked to. I mean, everyone's trying, but is, you know, especially with kids that are much younger, it's very difficult. They don't, you know, they're just learning how to talk and walk, never mind like staying away a certain amount of feet from people. Any reactions, questions, any more questions or concerns? Juliet, did you want to say something?
Yes, I just want to say hi. I'm one of the Me Too teachers, and I work with Joan and also Gabby, as I understand that there's some new Me Too parents here. I did see some faces that didn't look too familiar. Hi. So I look forward to meeting all of you in the fall. This is like an unprecedented experience for all of us. I just want to say that. We each have been attending webinars geared towards all these different issues. I was at a webinar last week, which was, I think was mostly directors at the meeting, but we were discussing, you know, some of these issues of how we're going to work with the kids and try to come up with strategies. And we'll be having more meetings over the summer and before, you know, just before school starts. We're going to be trying to brainstorm with different ideas, ways to, you know, make it comfortable for the kids. I mean, it's a really difficult time for all of us. I just want to acknowledge that, but I also want to say hello. Again, I'm Juliet. And honestly, if parents have suggestions or input at any point, you should connect with Heidi and let us know, because you may come up with some idea that, we haven't thought of, because we'll have to be doing some, we're using our experience, but there will be some things that will be new in the way, in the way we do it, because again, it's a new experience for all of us.
And just to add what Juliet just said, we are at an advantage because our program isn't opening till September. So like I said, I'm on this weekly call that's national, but then we break off into a local group, and people have been sharing all their experiences leading up to opening and how their openings are going with us every week. So we're getting a lot of great ideas and ways to do things, and things they thought would work that don't work, and other ideas they've come up with. So it's great that we can kind of take our time. The other thing is that when we get off the call, if you have more questions or want to speak to me privately about something, I am available. I gave out my cell number before. I'm happy to give it out again at any time. Over the summer, I'm working all summer, so you can reach me anytime. I've had probably 2 months now to digest all of this. It's a lot. But as we've talked about it and gotten used to it and come up with our strategies and plans, I know it's going to be really successful. Becky, anything you want to add?
So probably next week, I'm gonna send everyone your current statement that kind of has the things that are on your list. And there's been a lot of moving pieces back and forth. So I am 100% sure there is at least one mistake. So so I'm just gonna ask people to look at their statement. Let me know if there's a mistake or a change on there that needs to be made. If you know for sure that you're coming back to school, I just ask that you start your payment plan now. As I think I mentioned in a couple of our emails, typically a lot of our payment plans actually start in May, and we haven't really had that many that have started already. So if you can start your payment plan now, if you know you're coming back, we appreciate if you will do that. And then if you're not sure yet, that's okay too. As Heidi said earlier, for us, August 15th is a time where we feel like, okay, by August 15th, we really need to know, because we have to make class assignments and figure out how we're shifting things and people around to make sure we can make it work and give ourselves enough time to prepare. So, just keeping those things in mind. And if you have any questions sort of on the financial end, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact me. For those of you who have applied for financial aid, or if you haven't yet but you need to, I ask that you get that to me as soon as possible. And I'm going to be meeting with the committee who makes those decisions soon, and I will get back to you on your requests as well.
And I just want to say thank you to Stephanie and Emily, who are the chairs of our parent council. They also put in the chat if anybody wants to reach out to them, especially new parents, if you have questions. We also have talked about having some kind of parent social distance get together in the parking lot. And when I met with Becky the other day, she said we would be able to do that. So at least parents will be able to get together also before school starts and talk to each other in person. I want to thank all of the teachers for coming on the call. I've said this and I can't say it too many times. An amazing staff of teachers. I was very nervous when we had our staff meeting a few weeks ago to talk about all the changes, and I waited and held my breath for people to call and say, I can't do this. I just, I'm not going to be able to teach, I'm not going to be able to adapt, and everyone's in, as you could hear, 120%. So I just want to personally thank them for taking time out of the evenings to join us, and for all of the hard work ahead and all the hard work they've already been doing. So it was so nice to see all of you. Welcome some new faces, and we will be in touch. And please reach out with any questions you may have or concerns.